All right, we're talking about solving quadratic equations. We're going to take a look at level 1 here. So for level 1, we're just talking about basic equations that can be solved by taking a root. Okay, so with the standard method, we just take the square root of both sides and be done, right? And give us our two solutions right away, x equals 10 or x equals negative 10, right? If we think about that from a geometric perspective, okay, we've got a square of side length x, and we know a square that's got an area of 100 square units is going to be a 10 by 10, right? That's the only possibility, right? If we expand our thinking about side lengths, we can include negative side lengths, right? And so we have negative 10. So we got two options, x equals negative 10 or x equals positive 10. Okay, either way, we come up with both solutions. Okay, so again, taking advantage of the symmetry of that square. Okay, for the next problem, go ahead and take a second, pause, try this on your own. Okay, so we'll go ahead and add 61 to both sides. Okay, solving to give us x squared equals 169. Okay, again, something that we know we can solve simply by taking the square root. And so we get x equals 13 or x equals negative 13. Okay, nothing crazy. And again, thinking geometrically, we've got a square, right? Side length x, and it's 169 square units. Well, again, it's going to be 13 or negative 13, which vibes with our two solutions. Here's our next one. Go ahead and take a second and pause. Try it on your own. First thing we'll do is divide by 2. Okay, to get x squared equals 11. Now, it might not seem like this one's a perfect square, but, you know, we can still use the same logic. Right? We know we've got a square, side length x and side length x, and it's got an area of 11. So we're thinking what number multiplied by itself is 11? Oh, well, that's the square root of 11. That's the definition of what the square root is. So we have positive square root of 11 and negative square root of 11. Sorry, not the square root of negative 11. Negative square root of 11. Okay, and again, that vibes with the two solutions that we get just by taking that square root. Okay, x equals square root of 11 or x equals negative square root of 11. All right, and the last one, go ahead and try that one. Okay, so we'll try to isolate the square because we don't see any other terms. We don't see an x term, so we'll get our x squared equals negative 9. Now, again, thinking about this geometrically, you know, we're just looking for, you know, the numbers that when we multiply, right, we get this area of, you know, we get side lengths of x, and then we have an area of negative 9 this time, right? And so that's the question. What is the numbers that we can, what are the numbers we can multiply by itself to give us negative 9? Well, knowing about complex numbers, that would be 3i and negative 3i, right? That's not readily apparent necessarily, right? Unless you're familiar with it, right? You can look here, we take the square root, and we get x equals, well, the square root of negative 9 is equal to the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 9. And that's just equal to, well, I times 3 or I times -3, right? So we end up with, same thing, x equals 3i, or x equals -3i. If you need a refresher on imaginary numbers, complex numbers, go ahead and find a video. So that's it for level 1. Fairly straightforward. We're just, again, taking advantage of the symmetry of the square, right? And mirroring that of taking the square root. All right, go ahead and try the practice sheets on your own, and come to Zoom with questions.